Hello, everybody. I am here today doing a cast of the League Community Tournament. Second time casting for this, and today's match is going to be DK's Team Pizza versus DK and Friends. DK is Dark Knights. They're a fairly large club, and it's awesome. It's really cool that they're facing off against each other. We'll see which one comes out on top. So over on the side, I got Pizza versus Friends, just because that's really the biggest difference in their names. Should be starting in just a few minutes, but I always like to start a little bit early, just so I have some time to go over kind of like the rules of the tournament, just in case this is somebody's first time. So essentially, this is a tournament where it's a team tournament. Each team consists of 5 or 6 players, but they're only able to send 4 in. Each player essentially has 1 life, where if a player gets or loses a match, they can no longer play. But if they win a match, they can still play again. And it's the first team the first team where all their players get eliminated loses. So your goal is it's essentially a best of 7, but you can only send each player in once unless they win. Thank you for the follow, Kipkensky. Good luck today. Or are you on one of the teams? I know you're from Dark Knights. We had some good matches yesterday, I know, too, on stream. In the background, I'm just working on a Orpheal radar. Realized I could burn through one today, just for a little bit of content in the background, in between matches for you guys. Also, I am actually sitting in the casting channel today, so if any other casters wants to join in, you're more than welcome. I think Discord's set up that people should be able to hear you. Testing, look, alright, I've had issues before where the chat doesn't work, so I always like to send a test message before the stream starts. So that's why I do it. That's why we're seeing so many testings in the chat. Also, I do have VODs turned on, so if anyone wants to watch this afterwards, you can, and if you want to review it after the VOD timer's up, I do post them on my YouTube as well. It's good reference, like competitive content like this in an actual tournament setting is really, really cool. You get to see a lot of popular, like what are some really solid teams. I know that DK Team Pizza normally they're big fans of Shaolant. I think that's where their team name originates from, kind of. Where Luma Shaolant almost looks like a pizza just with the spots and the color scheme. It's kind of interesting. And I think one of their members even has pizza as the name. You're in IGT finally? That's right, I actually forgot that IGT is going on right now. I haven't participated in one in a long time. I think the rewards could definitely use a buff, but I would also rather them focus their attention elsewhere, so I think they're fine. Alright. I think that mostly covers everything. There are actually multiple matches going on today. There's like 4 of them. There's a ton of content for you guys. I'll be able to cover this one, and then possibly the second, depending on how fast the matches go and if we have enough casters around. It might be a partial cast of the second game if nobody else is able to cover it. And then my team is actually participating in about 3.5 hours from now. So anyone watching live can pop in. Or I'm sure somebody else will get it on a cast. Yeah. Because I probably won't be recording that. Don't want somebody to come in and snipe me here. I'm the only one brave enough to cast. Yeah, I can grab this one, and the the second match as well, because the second and third matches, and probably the fourth as well, are all going to kind of mix together with times. But I can at least get a partial cast of the second game for anyone interested in watching. It'd be a bit sad not to get the conclusion, but who knows, maybe it'll finish up in an hour and a half. Depends on how fast people can enter their teams in and be prepared. Alright, looks like all the teams have been submitted, so the teams are just sending in their first players. Team Pizza did win the coin flip, so they get to choose side for the first game. Sometimes that can be a big advantage. So we'll see how that plays out. For these casts, I should probably just make the screen bigger and kind of hide all my normal stream stuff, but that takes time. So you guys just have to look at the Pookies in my team codes. I think this is the first match we are actually getting with the new patch. No, I think there were some earlier ones. This is just the first one I've actually seen because I was on vacation for the last week. Plus, if there was one, it was before the meta really developed. It's like now that Schween, Mimit, Cycrox, and Yowler are all in a lot worse shape than they were previously, it'll be interesting to see how people have adapted. I would wonder if we'll see some Osakais today. I know Osakai got a really nice buff with getting Inner Spirit added to its moveset. I've seen some of those on ladder, and it's like it's a problem you have to deal with, otherwise you're losing a Tem or two. Meta's solid. I have some opinions about the meta. I think overall it's pretty solid. I think this is one of the most balanced metas we've had in a long time, and I'll withhold my other comments. Don't need to sour a cast with those. But I'd say we're really close to the Tems that are viable, and the amount of team types that we see are really varied. Alright. We have our first opponents. It would be Wicked K versus Sil Momo. Looks like Wicked K is running a slower stall team. There's oh, I forgot to mention everything is open info, so both players have access to their opponent's gears ahead of time, so they can ban accordingly if something is scary. So for like possible dooming, like Cycrox, if there was a talisman or bait, we could see a ban on that. Should you get links to gear screenshots here? You could. I'm not sure if anyone actually clicks on them. I feel like most people that watch this are in the main or are in the league Discord. But if you are not, I'm sure me, Loreweaver, or basically anyone in the competitive Discord, like comp chat in the main Discord, could send you a link here. But here we are seeing both teams now. So it's only knowing them a bit ahead of time, and I guess knowing the gears if you see the screenshots. So we see Talisman on the Tyrannac, so it's an Extinction Tyrannac more than likely. I'm actually not seeing a Kaleidoscope on either of the Lifeful Sap users, which is really interesting. Normally, either Volfi or Kinu likes to have that option to heal its allies. It's also worth noting that on top of Neurotoxins being a 4-turn Doom and Digithreat being on 2 hold now, Moments also, the refurbished turns, only get 3 turns of regen so, instead of 4. So that is also another nerf. We see a Tyrannac ban for Sil Momo's side, and Wicked K decides to ban the Broccolum. I'm a bit surprised by that ban, considering that there's stuff like a powerhouse like Inky, maybe predicting it's going to be a Fizz Inky. Or I guess it more than likely is because there's a War Gem on the Inky. But Inky puts out a lot of damage, so it's a bit surprising to see it's not banned out, but I guess there's double Earths in the entire neck, so just preparing to scare it off and probably ban it in the second round. Oshara also scales quickly though, and yet Volfi counters that. Thank you for the follow, Demi. Or Miguel. Really appreciate it. So Grumper into 2 Earths really doesn't want to stay here. It could hit the Cowern with an Earth move, but that's not always optimal. Saku is really good on this board though. Completely walls both Tems. However, Cowern has a higher base speed than Saku. So if this Saku is running Frond Whip, the Cowern can get a Stonewall off before Saku does, which could reduce the damage that the Frond Whip deals significantly. But Saku does have access to Petal Dagger now, after like 1.4, so... Or was that 1.3 already? No, I think it was 1.4. And so it has a solid turn 1 nature option it could use to hit Cowern. So you see the Oshara banned out. Guess he's not afraid of the Inky. Inky does have both neutral synergies up though. So if Momo can break through the 2 Earths here, I think that Inky has a lot of potential to kind of carry the end game. We'll have to see what happens though. Curious what we're going to see for a ban here. My prediction would maybe even be Volgon, just because depending on like Grandpa's trait, if it's Bully or Last Rush, it could come through in the end as well. Like Last Rush boost is a ton of damage. I don't see a whole lot of statuses applied that Bully would get a lot of value, but I guess there maybe it's like Plague from the Brocklum that got banned out. I feel like it's just definitely more of a Last Rush Grandpa. So if Momo ever gets behind in Thames, Grandpa could help bring it back. But the Cycrox is banned, so we actually don't have to see the Grandpa. It's not a required pick. And but we still see it. It does hit a lot of things neutrally, but it Pig resists it, and if Volgon is picked up, Volgon also resists. Volgon also if it's Superconductor, it offers synergies for stuff like Digithreat, Bush, and I guess like Stoneball on Cowern, but I don't think that's a big issue. Freaka, thank you for the follow. I was it's maybe a second account. I was really confused. I thought like, didn't you follow yesterday? There's one less O in your name. Thank you. Okay. Ooh, lots of spectators today. I guess quite a few people just like watching in-game. So let's see. I already said like Inky was picked up. It's only got 1 synergy for Sparkling Bullet, but if both Earths can be removed here, that would open up a lot of space for Inky to work with. But that also means that Wicked's plan is probably going to be to keep one of these alive, maybe swap out for something here. I could definitely see a Kinu swap in. And we see the Moments, okay. I was expecting Kinu just to get hold off on maybe like Resin Trap if it has it, a Hypnosis if it's a speedier Kinu. Revitalize, because even at any damage it takes could be healed pretty well with a synergy Revitalize. And it still resists the nature moves. While Moments is also good. And we do see the Petal Dagger of the Saku. And Saku's Botanist as well, so it does have a little bonus damage on that. Grandpa gets handcuffs trapped in. But I don't think Momo's too scared of that. Like, there's no electrics on Wicked's team. It did take a decent 30% from that Volfi. Possibly Volfi has some special attack invest, or maybe a low HP invest Grandpa. Hard to say. Grandpa is hand fan, so we could see it put out a really hard-hitting Hypoxia or Tornado. But Grandpa does not have a lot of staying power due to the lack of a stamina item, unless it has really high stamina invests. So we'll just have to see about builds there. Possibly a block on the Moments just to raise some physical defense. Make the Saku kind of irrelevant. And also reduce the Inky's damage if it comes down to it later. Grandpa's already taken some damage, so that's one main special attacker out of play. Or that's at least a bit less scary. See Pig come in, getting holds off. Coming in to resist the likely wind move from the Grandpa. It's a good play. It also, like getting the Stonewall off hold is really good. But Momo, probably predicting that, actually brings in the Grumper to get it, to threaten out the Pig if it decides to stay in. Yeah, that one Tornado took over half of Grandpa's stamina bar. Very rough. It probably has like a 2-turn rotation, and then OX if it wants to, so probably Hypoxia here. Moments did get the block up, so that really hurts the amount of damage that Saku and Inky and possibly Valash are able to deal with it. Not sure what this Valash is running. It's a really good mixed attacker with Jack of all trades, so it could be both special or physical, and having the offensive scaling would really help against this slower stall matchup. See the Moment swap out, not letting Refurbish proc yet, since it still is pretty high HP, probably wanting to save that for later. Both teams actually get a Stonewall off though. Interesting to see Grumper have a Stonewall on this team, but I guess there are some bulkier options with Saku. But now Kaurin becomes a lot harder to kill, and Inky is on the board, and very, very threatened by the Kaurin. Plus, it looks like between Inky's stabs and Grumper's stabs, Volfi resists both of them. So, Volfi's a pretty free swap for Wicked, if he chooses to do so. But there's also the possibility that we predict a different play from Momo, and we see Pig stay in, predicting difference. But we just see the Volfi come in, since it's pretty much free. Volfi takes special Sparkling Bullet, but only takes 7% because the 4x resist. If Kaurin clicks an attack move, I think Inky is just dead, unless it's a bulkier Inky. Oof, the double electric on the Volfi, taking not even 15%. We just see a Stonewall. So Kaurin did not click an offensive move to kill the Inky. However, that +6 defense Kaurin is going to be a big threat. If it gets to a late game with Saku, and Saku has Lifeful Sap, I believe Saku can win, just due to Kaurin's lack of healing and lack of ability to deal damage to Saku. But it probably has Psychosis. So Saku would need a second status effect outside of just the regen from Lifeful Sap to be able to win against Kaurin. We'll have to see. We just see a Roar that really hurts Grumper's ability to deal damage because of the double special attack drop, and it also hurts Saku a little too. Wolfie getting the Lifeful Sap off, basically healing off the double in from the gut that it took the turn before. I would have to say, looking at it now, I think Wicked's in a really good position, and I'm not like Momo's gonna have to be packing some really interesting techs here to come back. I think it would be really great if Momo had a mental and was doing slowdown shenanigans with Grumper, but I don't see any mentals, so it's probably not running the move. Looks like Momo's kind of considering the options, taking a bit more time on the timer. Just kind of wondering like where to go from here. If that is a Jack of all trades Valash, there are some options because it has really good offensive scaling. But Valash's primary special attacking move is Crystal Spikes, which Kaurin resists. And it wants to hit it specially because of the Stonewall is only providing one special defense, so it's only +2 SpDef, while it's +6 defense. We do see a double in on the Kaurin. Benefactor really reducing the effectiveness of it. That would have actually done half of Karen's health. And Karen does get the Psychosis off on Saku. So Momo really has to apply a status of some kind to Saku and hopefully have Lifeful Sap if they want to pull through here. But I'm kind of curious what kind of moveset we're seeing on the Saku because it has both Petal Dagger and Frond Whip. So it may not even be running Lifeful Sap. Hard to say. Plus, I'm not sure what other available statuses Momo has. We might just see, yeah, some damage and just try and deal as much damage to the Karen through the Doom Timer as possible. But that's really difficult when there's a Kinu right there. Karen getting a Stonewall onto the Kinu. And we're just seeing double Stonewalls, so Grumper's really just gonna sit here for the entire game now. Momo probably keeps thinking that they're gonna predict a swap, and Grumpers just wants to get Stonewalls up to reduce the damage it takes from the Stonewall. But Wicked is not clicking offensive moves. And that seems to really be throwing Momo off here. Kind of it's a good ooh. Okay. So that is a status on Saku now. So Grandpa could wake up the Saku and it could Lifeful Sap if it's running it. And that would be able to push off the Doom. Which would give Momo more space to work with. It may actually end up being a thing or a type of game where both Saku or both teams are trying to keep all 5 Tems alive and just win the HP battle. Because with that many buffs on Grumper, it's going to be hard to take down. We do see the Lifeful Sap. And if Grumper can get some Stonewalls onto Saku, with the healing from Lifeful Sap, it'll be really hard to take down. So it basically turns into, can Grumper out-heal the damage a Volphy can deal with Inductor versus, yeah, whatever Saku has. It's actually really bad for Momo that Wicked's Volphy has handcuffs instead of Kaleidoscope. Because if it had Kaleidoscope, it would not have any reliable healing to heal itself, and any damage Saku deals to it would stack up, and eventually the Volphy would die. But because it has handcuffs, it has the lifeful healing itself, and if it's ever in danger, it could just heal it back up. And still Valash and Inky really don't want to come out onto this field against an Earth type at all. Cowern hasn't revealed what offensive technique it has. It's revealed Roar, Stonewall, and Psychosis. So surely it has Clay Ball or Stone Ball. But it's just going to keep throwing out Psychosis and Psychosi? I have no idea what the plural of Psychosis is. Probably doesn't exist. And with Momo's limited status application, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to push it off. This would be the time to reveal a Coward's Rest Grumper, if that's what we see. But then Grumper would not have the Inductor healing it wants to try and outstall the endgame here. See Grandpa swap. We saw Gust from the Grandpa, and I believe Gust synergy is actually electric and inflicts trapped. So if the Grandpa had Hypnosis and Gust, it could actually side Hypnosis the Grumper and then Gust it, just to give Grumper some more turns. But that was not the play yet. Seems the Grandpa swapped out for Saku. Saku's only revealed Petal Dagger, Frond Whip, and Lifeful Sap so far. So I'm not quite sure what his plan is. But maybe there's something I'm not aware of. We see the Valash come in. Maybe Valash has a plan here? See a double rest from Wicked. Doesn't really want to wake up the Saku. But we do see the Coward's Rest. What? That's very interesting. Not having the Inductor healing could possibly be really bad for Momo, but it's super great against this specific Doom matchup. Okay. Well, teams like we're on turn 13, and before that Madness buff, I don't even think 50% health to a singular, like in total, had been taken. Maybe just over 50% in the entire game. Alright, so a Madness buff on the Vlash into a Psychosis in Stonewall. So this Vlash just had a whole lot happen to it this turn. Vlash probably looking to send a Crystal Spikes into that Kinu slot. Though Kinu does have the Lifeful Sap healing, it can probably take one without worries and then swap out and get heals afterwards. Worth noting, it does have +2 special defense from the Stonewalls, and also Volphy is in the back, ready to take anything this Vlash can probably click on it. Since we saw the Madness buff, it's more than likely a full special Vlash. So this Vlash actually has to be running Rend if it wants to be able to kill that Volphy reasonably. If we see the Rend, I'm gonna be so happy because that's a really interesting move, and until we get the PI rework, it's one of the few ways that you can actually apply the nullified status on another Tem. But unfortunately, we do not see it. That is the second time that Momo has just gone in, clicking the green circles, and gotten painfully a bad return on the trade, unfortunately. Karen, I think it's clicked Stonewall like 7 times this match. Probably the same for Grumper, though. It's been a very... These guys are trying to compete with China for the Great Wall, I think. Flash's Doom Timer's ticking down. It's still just going to throw some C-Spikes over at Volphy, but Volphy has the Lifeful Sap. And if it swaps out now, it can heal back up to full in just a few turns. There's 10 turns left in the game, and Vlash is 1 turn from death. Saku, I don't think it has Refreshing Breeze anymore. I don't even know if that removes status effects anymore. But it kind of has to be running it right now if that's what we're going to see. The Volphy actually stays in, just challenging the C-Spikes and the Frond Whip. Saku getting trapped in. Don't think it loves this board, so that's fine by it. Karen getting a Psychosis off. Saku definitely clicking the Frond Whip because the Psychosis was faster than it. How much does this do? Unfortunately, it does like 15%. Because of that Stonewall, giving the +3 defense. Vlash goes down, Karen gets a Scavenger heal, and Volphy's not threatened at all. The Grandpa come back in. I know Grandpa does have access to Refresh. Would be a nice offensive option for it to counteract the roar it got hit with earlier, but I think it would need a few of them to get off in order to flip this game around. If Momo really wants to win, they've got to somehow kill something, but with all the roar debuffs and all the Stonewalls up, it's going to be incredibly difficult. Thank you for the follow, Script. Really appreciate it. See the Kinu come back in. How much does the Hypoxia do? It's a respectable 20%. The last rush is coming in. Like, you gotta realize that the Kinu's +2 special defense and the Grandpa's -2 special attack. And Kinu has one of the highest special defenses in the game, so dealing 20% is actually really solid damage. It's just that another Stonewall and Lifeful Sap healing kind of makes it all for naught. It's only a matter of turns until Saku goes down as well, unless we see like a side Lifeful Sap or side Hypnosis and a Lifeful Sap, which I think just buys Momo a few more turns. If Karen gets a Psychosis off on either Inky or Grandpa, it will not be able to push it off in any way. What Momo really needed was a way for Grumper to apply one more status so that you could have a Grumper and Saku board, and Grumper is able to push off its own Doom, and whenever needed it would be able to push off Saku's Doom as well. And so you would just leave the +8 Grumper on the field for all eternity. And it wouldn't be able to be hit by the Doom. And neither would its ally. And then you just kind of play the tank, full health, turn 25 match that I was talking about earlier. But since Grumper doesn't have any reliable healing with Coward's Rest, it would end up taking chip damage from Karen, unable to heal it back. So it would end up being how much damage can a Saku plus Grumper deal to Karen with that much defensive buff. And I don't think it would be enough. So I think from the get-go, this was a really tough match for Momo. Just by looking at it, it looked like it was a way more offensive team than it was. It looks like there's a lot of defensive options here, with stuff like Madness buff of Lash to raise its special defense, a Stonewall Coward's Rest Grumper to create space and get buffs, Lifeless Sap on a Saku, so it was kind of like a mid-range team with stall options on Momo's side versus a complete stall team on Wicked's side. So unfortunately, like, Wicked was able to do everything that Momo wanted to better. I could see Momo's team working really well against another mid-range team that isn't prepared to deal with buffs. It seems like more of a flexible team. But if you don't go all in with a strategy, and you face somebody doing your strategy but kind of better, it's really hard to find a way to break through that. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. Like, all those buffs on the Grumper, unfortunately, aren't even coming into play. Grumper hasn't been hit with an offensive move once this game, and I don't think it will either. See, Sharp Stabs and the Inky coming in and dealing a lot of damage to that Kinu. But this could be the turn that we see Karen actually click an offensive move. Kinu has Reactive Vial and just Lifeless Saps. And Karen just roars. It's not really afraid of Inky. Doesn't have to attack. Doesn't have to risk the swap into the Grand Pod for the resist. Just gets a cheap roar off, hurting Grumper's damage even more, and hurting Inky some as well. Probably gonna see like a Paizo plus a Dust Vortex in the Kinu slot just to see how much it can possibly do. Oh, I guess a T-Strike since this seizes. But the Grumper's -6 special attack and the Kinu's like +3, so this is gonna do like 8%. Yeah. Oh no, we do see a Dust Vortex, so like, yeah, 4%. And another Stonewall, and the Hypnosis on the Inky. I have to say, unfortunately, I think this game was over a long time ago. I hear arguments for and against, like, when you should forfeit against stall teams. Because knowing when you've lost is a skill, I think. But I also respect players that try and bring the games back from a brink of loss, because there are many times when an opponent gets too confident that they're in the winning position and they will throw games. I have done this so many times before where I throw games that I thought I was just completely destroying and waiting for my opponent to forfeit. So I don't mind any players that play a game through, even if it looks lost. Yep. That's actually decent damage from the T-Strike, considering how low special attack this Grumper has, and how high the Kinu special defense is. I wonder if this game would have turned out differently if Momo would have prioritized taking out the healers. Because Karen, even with all those buffs, if it didn't have any way to heal or be healed by like Kinu or well, I guess Kinu's really the only one that's bothered healing it. But if it didn't have that healing from Kinu, eventually it would get whittled down. We see Momo just attacking. I'm not really sure what that was. I think that was just kind of like a resignation. Was this the last turn? No, we have like 2 more. I'm just kind of playing it out because why not? Interact with the circle. So I mean, well, I guess at this point, the other thing, and probably the other reason why Momo was playing this out, is to gain information. So Momo will be eliminated after this match, but Wicked will be coming back, or still has the ability to play. So Momo's team can take note of all the gears that were revealed, or I guess both of them, and kind of move sets and speed tiers and bulk and damage and all of that to use in future matches. So Momo's team is probably thinking about who they want to send in next. Oh, gears are already known. Okay, yeah, I meant like speed tiers and stuff. I always forget it's open info. Actually getting the Kinu below half. Well, okay. I think that was a kind of a bad play on Wicked's side to Stoneball the Grandpa, because that reveals that Stoneball is the offensive move, when Karen's also commonly run Clayball to save stamina. So now Momo's team can make plays according to that. Not that the Karen even needs to click it, it only clicked it once and it was at the end game there, so who knows. I guess I should probably refer to the teams as Pizza and Friends, but honestly, like, they're all from Dark Knights for the most part, so it gets really confusing on whose team's who. But it looks like... So... Momo is on DK and Friends, and Wicked is on Team Pizza. So Team Pizza takes the first win. Yeah, so stall teams are not something that's very common in the meta. So most players don't actually prepare multiple counters for them. There are quite a few ways to break through stall teams. Like offensive scaling is usually faster than defensive scaling. Something like a heat up gives you +3 attack, and that's turn 1. And Stonewall's turn 2 and only gives +3 defense. So stuff like heat up. A P-Jab outpaces stall. There's multiple buff resets with Misoji. Yeah, reset itself, synergy black hole. So there's definitely ways around stall. Plus, if like toxic ticks are another good way. Otherwise, just having enough damage. It's really hard to prepare for all archetypes, especially in this meta where there's so many teams that are viable. You almost have to take one kind of team matchup and just accept losing into it. Some people, that's the Digi aggro matchup. Other players, it's stall. And then there's other variations as well. Stall team's not common in stall patch. Yeah, I guess it's not really the stall patch though. They looked at every single stall tem and we got our next match. They looked at every single stall tem and we now have some that are more viable, and some of them didn't really get helped. I don't know. Everyone kind of has a different idea of what stall is or should be. We got our next match though. It is Kivkensky versus Statist. So there we see Shaolant. And some other common threats: Volfi, Turok, Tolkien. See the Gazuma Moments lead? I've seen a lot of Dark Knights members run this for a while. It's a very strong combo. Inky's there to deal damage. Probably a Spec Master Inky this time since there's no neutrals. It also pairs incredibly well with Shaolant. It's a really strong combo. I was running it a lot yesterday. See the Moments band out. On Status side, he's running his good old like Turbo Core. He's been running this for a few patches now. See the Molgu band out? A little surprised there, considering Kivkensky has 2 electrics, a water. The only thing that's weak to Digi is actually the Shaolant. There's also like the only sleep option is Haito Shaolant. It's kind of interesting. We see the Inky Shaolant lead though, as I mentioned, very strong. Status cannot freely pick Turok here because a double in from Inky Shaolant actually kills Turok before I can get the Stone Ball off to one-shot Inky. And there's... I guess the reason we saw the Molgu ban is because the Molgu plus something else could double into the Shaolant and kill it turn 1. And this ensures that Shaolant survives the first turn at least, and can maybe get more value afterwards. Shaolant got Haito Uchi in the last patch, so if it's faster on the second turn than something, it can put it to sleep, which is insane value. Shaolant wants to create space for its ally anyways, so it's a perfect tool for it. It doesn't deal a whole lot of damage because Shaolant is a special Tem, and Haito is a physical move. But just to sleep enough is utility, and chip damage is always good. It also helps Shaolant get a hold off more free. It has a couple really solid 2-hold moves in Kesugatame, Inner Spirit, even Dimbok. And it has a lot of good 3-hold moves. It's got, well, 3 and 4, because it's got Zen Meditation, Execution. I could have one more too. Like, Shaolant's really interesting. Also, Shaolant's usually hold the reworked Morale Boosting Whip, which applies 3 turns of Invigorize for a quarter of your allies' stamina bar. Basically allows Inky to stay on the field for 3, maybe even 4 turns, stamina-wise. Inky also has Bright Beam after the first turn, which allows it to create evasion again. Okay, so first turn I'm expecting a double in to move flank from Kivkensky, because a Soul Shout plus a T-Strike should kill through move flank's paper special defense. And Statist I am assuming is going to Bestial Charge. It's just spread damage, chip on Shaolant, break the evasion for Inky, and then a Helicopter Kick, just for some super effective damage into Inky, possibly putting it in goring range as well. But both of Kivkensky's Tems are faster, but this is a really tanky move flank, so that's why they're faster. The Mashuk's actually faster though. It's actually really bad for Statist because he wanted the move flank to outspeed, so he could get some good chip on Inky. But the base jump kind of does that anyways. Inky's staying out of goring range, but we're probably just going to see a Bright Beam plus maybe a quick prio move from Shaolant, something like Martial Strike. I think the move flank is actually... It's actually unnoticed, and that's why it's bulkier. It doesn't have to invest in speed because it gets free speed boost if it's not attacked. I have a bad habit of not paying attention to if Hurry Ward procs at the start of a turn or not, because every time I see an Oshiara, it's Hurry Wart, unless somebody forgot to change the trait in Showdown. And Move Flank, it's usually 50-50. I just don't look for it. Bad habit of mine. But I think this one's unnoticed. Mashuk does have Turbo off hold, and Inky really doesn't like this field because it will die to an uppercut or a helicopter kick, and Shellland cannot threaten the Mashuk. So we could very easily see a swap to one from Move Flank into one of Status Many Wins to get a Turbo off, and that would give Status the speed advantage for probably the entire game, because Grandpa and Lawali can Turbo after once again, or they have Turbo themselves, so they can apply a speed boost to whatever ally they want. And Mashuk would also have speed to do it again. But Kivkensky decides to stay in on Move Flank, Goring, and we'll see what the Mashuk does. Kivkensky gets the Gazma in, and Tornado is now off hold, so Mashuk is going to be scared. You see the Turbo though. Looks like a tireless Mashuk based on how much stamina lost there. Just perfectly calced 1 stamina over, so it only takes 5 damage, gets the tireless attack boost. Now Mashuk is an offensive threat. See Lawali come in. Since Mashuk did not have an ally when it turboed, it was not synergy turbo, and it only has +2 speed. If this is a slower Gazuma, Mashuk could still outspeed and get like a Wastewater off and kill the Gazuma. But it's going to swap. Not going to risk it. I think that's a fair choice. Gazuma's usually built pretty speedy. The Gazuma doesn't even attack. It predicts the swap, chooses Sparks. If Xiaolant uses Soul Shout into the 2-Vine slot, it will almost certainly die. Or it has Inner Spirit up, so it's just going to click that, actually, yeah. We see the Inner Spirit. Which slot is it in? Lawali would be the safe choice, but yeah, so Lawali's a safe choice. That could have been a really great play if Kivkensky chose to target the Mashuk slot, but if Mashuk stayed in, that would have been... it could have been really bad for him. There's a chance we see Xiaolant just stay in here and get a Soul Shout off on the 2-Vine. We might even see a double turbo, one from the Lawali, one from the Gazuma. Depending on which one's faster could determine how the turn goes. 2-Vine doesn't want to risk it though, swaps for Grandpa. Lawali's probably still clicking turbo anyways. Gazuma giving Xiaolant the Sparks buff. Lawali actually using Plague, so not clicking turbo. I'm a little surprised. I guess he's already assuming he has speed advantage. Xiaolant may die from OX here, because Plague prevented the Invigorize from Sparks, but no, it survives on 4.1% health. Gazuma gets the Diabolo, but it's 1 turn too late because the stamina is not going to help. Because Xiaolant is currently OX. It does have +2 special attacks, so it could swap out and come back in later. But if Status gets any amount of speed boost on his Tems, he will get outsped. Status probably wants to keep some health on this Lawali because it's really good against Turok and Volphy. It's really his best answer to both. And yet he also wants to get a speed boost on something like 2-Vine. Actually, we're probably going to see Lawali swap for 2-Vine, and then Grandpa use Turbo. Problem is that Grandpa would more than likely die to the incoming Tesla Prison from the Gazuma, depending on special attack investments. But that would also give Status a free swap in with Mashuk onto the Volphy board that it wants to be on. So we'll see how this plays out. It's also possible, I was going to say, Gazuma could have been running Electric Storm as well. It's a very low invest Gazuma, it looks like. Grandpa's net speed for that turn is +2 because of the -1 from Tesla Prison, but +3 from Turbo. 2-Vine's now super fast though. I'm sure we'll just see a CPG into the Gazuma slot Grandpa probably just getting some damage on Volphy, but there is a possibility we see double wind move into the Volphy, hoping to kill it before it gets a move off. Grandpa actually swaps. Very interesting. Bring in Lawali. I guess predicting the Turok swap here and wanting to get a positive board state. It's a good play. Tuvine Invigorized from its bait, getting cancelled out by the Plague Exhaustion. And Tuvine getting trapped as well, but it doesn't care too much about that. Tuvine getting a Feather Galling off on Volphy. It's a good play by Kivkensky. We could see a Turbine plus Plague into the Volphy now, probably killing it. Hard to say. Depends on if the Volphy has a lot of defense investment. It looks like a fairly bulky Volphy, but it could just be HP invest, in which case it would live the double in. Lawali does not have the speed boost, so it could get outsped by the Turok very easily with Turbine. It looks like we actually just see a CPG, probably a Resin Trap into the Turok. I'm not even sure if this kills. If the Turok has special defense investment, it probably lives. Yeah. Most Turoks... Oh my goodness, it's an Escapist Turok. I have not seen one of those in, ever. I don't think I've genuinely seen an Escapist Turok ever. I don't think it particularly matters here, but very, very interesting to see. And the fact that it actually came into... it actually procced. Tuvine has now been knocked out, though. It was worth noting, it was a Gravel Bag Turok, so it has Soil Steam. It's likely speed invested, but it's not faster than this Lawali, because the Lawali went first. But it can get a fast Turbine off. Grandpa just Tornadoes. It's because it's only got Mono Wind anyways, just getting some damage. I'm a little surprised we didn't see that onto the Volphy, a Tornado plus a Plague, because that Turok was in range to die to a Helicopter Kick from Mashuk, but you can't hit Volphy with a Helicopter Kick because of Team Elusive. Unless it's a Burglar Volphy. We just saw the Escapist Turok, so you never know. Phasma come back in. Now the Tuvine's gone, it's really not threatened by anything. Phasma actually only has one weakness, and that is Crystal. So, and it has really high special defense. His endgame could be very interesting. Mashuk has the potential to come back and destroy all of Kivkensky's hopes and dreams. But Kivkensky does have the Tem advantage and HP advantage. See Hypnosis from the Grandpa. Into the Gazuma. I'm a little surprised. I guess we're going to see a rest here on the Lawali. And on the Volphy. Very interesting. So this gives Status a little bit of space to work with. Could very well see a double into the Volphy now. Or maybe we just see Grandpa go into Volphy. And then maybe Lawali rest again. And then once Grandpa dies to the Volphy, assumingly, Mashuk comes in. And they double in Gazuma. I would not be surprised to see that. Because once Gazuma goes down, Mashuk really doesn't have any counters. It should be able to finish off Inky, and Shaolant doesn't threaten it offensively. So I thought Kivkensky was winning this game, but it actually looks like Status is, now that he has the speed advantage. Lawali OXing here, I think that's a very questionable play. I'm not sure what his plan is. Lawali was not threatened this turn, and damage on the Gazuma is really important. What? Volphy's helping him out with that. Not sure what button the Grandpa clicked. It was +5 speed and got outsped by a 0 speed Gazuma. Tesla Prison? Maybe clicking a low prio move like Refresh, or just resting. Because maybe an OX from Tornado. I'm not sure about the stamina invest. Yeah, it had to be a rest. Must have had like 34, 35 stamina and would have OX from Tornado. Very unfortunate to see. Gazuma does outspeed the +2 Mashuk. Get the tornado off on the Gazuma. Mashuk takes the double in and is in a bit of a rough spot. It does have Nutrition Bar to give it a bit of space. But if this Inky is faster than the Mashuk, it can just get a DC beam off and the Mashuk will go down, giving the win to Status, or to Kivkensky. Oops. But if the Mashuk outspeeds, I think Status wins here. Wally can turbo, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I didn't even think of that. But is a +3 Lowally faster than Inky? It depends on how much speed invest he has in Lowally. His +4 speed is not... It's not double. So this Lowally has to have probably more than the normal 232 speed breakpoints. And it's just... I used to run 232 all the time. Now I run faster. So we gotta hope that Status is also running a faster team. Or faster Lowally at least. This is... There's 2 and 3 times alive here, but it's actually right down to this turn right here. Right down to the wire. Inky does outspeed with DC Beam, and Mashuk looks like it barely goes down. What does Lowally click here? It does click the turbo. So that is a very fast Inky and a not quite fast enough Lowally. That is going to be GG in Kivkensky's favor. That is kind of one disadvantage of running a turbo team, is you're assuming you're going to get your speed from the turbos, that you're able to invest more in HP rather than investing your TVs in raw speed. And unfortunately that actually bit Status in the butt there. GG's Kivkensky. I think both players played really well. It was super close and it was a great game to watch. It does bring DK's Team Pizza up to 2-0. Grandpa Rest was to lose. Easy kill on Wolfie. I think that was a very important play. I'm not sure about the rest. It must have been a 61 stamina Grandpa, assuming it would have had enough stamina with Sweatband, and that it probably had just enough, or not quite enough stamina to tornado without OXing. Last Rush was on Grandpa with Tornado up. Do we know for sure that it was a Last Rush Grandpa? I know the one in the last match was, but I'm not sure about this one. Bully's a really popular trait. I'm not sure why, but it is. So Last Rush... Oh, you're right. It procs on Hypnosis and stuff. That's always kind of silly. Get my Botanist proc when I'm clicking Layful Step on Saku. Alright. Just waiting on the name of the next players they're sending in. Both Wicked and Kivkensky have won their matches, so we could see one of them return on the side of Team Pizza. But the options for players to send in on DK and Friends is dwindling, but that does not mean that they cannot come back. We have seen multiple reverse sweeps in the history of this type of format, and those are probably some of the funnest ones, honestly. Most fun? Funnest isn't a word? Fine. Someone can always come back and it's always close. Both of these teams are in comms with each other, surely, and discussing their plans and what they want to do. Alright, so we see John Blau Weiss, I think it was like John Blue Eyes is what that essentially translates to, and then Demisius. Demisius will invite. Alright. I'll discuss the teams once we get into the match. The images are on the League Discord, though. Should really come up with a different name for this, honestly. I keep saying the League, and I keep thinking League of Legends. Maybe that's just because I've played the game for years, but... No, not the League of Legends Discord. It's just the League. Alright, we see a Shaolant on both teams, as well as an Inky on both teams. And okay, how much of this team is the same? There's a Shaolant, Inky, Platamus. Shaolant, Inky, Platamus, Volphy. Okay, so half the teams are the same, which is fair. Very strong Temps. So essentially the differences are Nesla, Turok, and the Gazuma Moments combo versus Adoro, Tolkien, Golzi, and Chimerian. So let's see. The double water on Demizius' side kind of threatens out the Tolkien a bit, but beyond that, I don't think it's helping him a whole lot. You can actually kind of exploit that with the double nature, the double toxic, and the electric. William Welsh for the name. Might be too late to rebrand. I mean, in this season, yeah. But I mean, after the season's over, you can always change it. I really don't think it... Yeah, whatever. I think we could easily change it. It's just a community thing. Although, Crema is sponsoring it. I guess I didn't mention that. We should all thank Crema for sponsoring this tournament and allowing some amount of Novas for the winning teams. Which is really awesome. Thank you, Crema. Really appreciate all you do for the competitive scene. If they ever watch this. Alright, so we see Moments versus Chimerian. Chimerian's probably to counteract the possible Gazuma pick. Demizius probably picks the Moments first because it's really good into John's almost in his entire team, and Gazuma is the only would have been a worse pick into most of it. But this allows him Demizius to have a second pick that's better for the matchup. Oh, we see we just see the Gazuma. Probably because Moments is the plan to carry like the entire game. We're more than likely going to see a Tolkien ban, and then just Gazuma might even just sack itself to get us sparks on the Moments. Might even be a bulkier Gazuma, so it's able to tank a hit. And so if Volphy doesn't stay into double, we could see 2 sparks off on the Moments, which would just turn it into a monster. The Moments has Nut Bar, so it doesn't have Sweatband for a lot of staying power. So that's worth mentioning. Sweatband, I think, is a really good item on Moments, especially these speedy, like a fast charge, Sparks, raid bossy ones, because they have the damage, they have the speed. What they don't have, they even have the bulk. What they're lacking is stamina, and Sweatband kind of makes up for it. Thing you liked best you came up was Panson tournaments. I mean, you just pick a Tem and just like before it was like the Gazma League, the Gazma Wars. Just make it like the Shellland Wars or something. I don't know. I'm not great with names either. Especially not on the spot. Alright, see Volphy and Inky on both sides. John gets the Shaolant, but since it's not on the lead, the Welcomer is able to be saved for another turn. If you swap in the right order, you can actually get Welcomer to proc on a double swap, which can allow a safe swap sometime mid-game, which can be a huge advantage, depending on when and how it's used. Alright, hostile and fast charge buffs coming out. Prometheus does have 2 Earth types in the back to eat the attack from Chimerian. Probably going to see Volphy, if anything, because Volphy Plague can't threaten out the Turok. And, hold on, let me see. I think the Luma Volphy... Both Volphys have handcuffs. So the Turok would get trapped in as well, and so it would be guaranteed to die on turn 2 without doing anything. So the options are basically, we either see the Gazuma sack, just a Sparks and then a Harmful on the Chimerian, or we see Volphy swap in, and it's kind of like a Volphy sack. Okay. This is not surprising. Getting a special attack boost on the Moments that's going to stay on the field for a long time is a really good option. Plus, it's able to save some stamina by getting the Invigorized from Sparks. Do you see the double in Gazma? Just to guarantee it kills, just in case it was bulkier and lived. Which it does look like it was, based on how slow the health bar went down. But with the double in, it was just not enough. Chimerian bait procking before it gets a hit off, that really gives Chimerian a lot of staying power. It could probably be on the field for like 3 or 4 turns, and it's not even threatened by a whole lot. The Volphy has to come in now, but then Chimerian just swaps out and then kind of destroys the late game. So it's very rough for Demizius now. He probably wants to Binary Flood, but Volphy's there kind of preventing that. Binary Flood's a really good move, high value. Vulcan's a reasonably good swap in for the Chimerian. Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of winning routes for Demizius right now. I actually see the Chimerian stay in. That's very surprising, because that Chimerian's kind of a win condition, I feel like. But I guess he's just gonna, not quite take the kill on Volphy. So that's still a really good play. I think I would. So Demizius' Volphy was faster, so it'll be able to get one more hit off. So Chimerian will go down here. Unless the Chimerian outspeeds the Volphy with like a Glass Blade. New brand name with a Thames name, Momo's Massive Monster Mash. That's great, I like it. I love alliteration. And people love Momo. I'm sure we could get a cute icon for that. People would like it. Alright. Chimerian is in range to die to, like, not one more Sledge Gift, but I think it dies to the microwaves. Maybe not Synergy, though. It'd be really close. Chimerian does swap out, though. Inky comes in. That's... Oh, it was a speed arrow. I missed that. I'm glad the players are paying more attention than me. The Volphy was never in danger then. Or the John's Volphy was never in danger because it had speed arrow. I wonder if they're base speed Volphys or if they just happen to reach the same speed break point. Very interesting. I suppose since they're in the same club, it's very possible that they could be. They probably know each other's spreads. Maybe they even helped each other build the same teams. Who knows? Copied spreads, you guess? Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm a little surprised they wouldn't change it around if they knew they were facing like their own club. Like, just add one more speed into your Volphy just so you outspeed everyone else in your club. I would totally do that. 500 speed, 500 special attack. Is that really the spread? I'm not a fan of spreading like that, but there's some advantage to that. Rock goes down. Taking neutral damage from an Inky's Specmaster Inky T-Strike hurts really bad, so it is not able to survive. Mamat's not faster than the Volphy Plague to get the burn off before the Plague comes out. Volphy is OX, so it can survive this turn and then just get a... Or the Inky can survive this turn before it gets Sludge Gifted by the Volphy. But the opposing Inky has Court Stirred Up, and that probably takes out Inky as well. If not, it'll be really close. You do +1 speed, your club knows you do that, and they'll go +2 speed. Yeah, that's what I hate about speed breakpoints, but I guess you kind of just gotta take what you can get. We do not see the DC beam. I think you kind of had to risk it to kill the Inky there. I'm sure that DC beam, even 4 times resisted, would have done 6%. But then the Volphy still would have been an issue, so it was a very rough match for Demizius. I can't even say where the game went wrong. I think Pickman had to play out a bit differently. I think forcing the Gazuma on a lead against Shimurian was a bit rough. It kind of put Demizius at a disadvantage from the start. But I'm not sure what other options there were. Shimurian is a very, very strong Tem if there's no fire types, and I don't think Demizius had any fire types on his team. No, he did not. There was a Shellant, but I think the Shellant was banned out first. So there was no fires or melees, so there was nothing that John had, or Demizius had to take out the Chimerian. And now Moment's just kind of going down. Maybe gathering a little information. Guess the binary flood now, just to kind of deal some chip to chim. Tolkien. Chip to Tolkien. Inky swaps out just for fun. Resin Trap, too bad it's not on the Escapist Turok today, it's against the Shellant. And Moments takes itself out. GG's. That makes Team Pizza 3-0. So DK and friends are down to their last player, while Team Pizza still has plenty of options left. So I don't know who's all playing on the side of DK and friends tonight, but they kind of have to pull off a reverse sweep. So I wish the best of luck to them. Provide more content for us. Here's a join for you after you backed out into DK Friends. Yeah, I saw Freezeit joined. See if he plays? Maybe. Suppose Team Pizza is maybe just wondering if they want to send in their 4th player. Maybe give everyone a try. They've actually rotated their players every match. Not something all teams want to do. Sometimes the teams just kind of want to scout and don't want their opponents to gain any more information against them. But it's also kind of nice just to have your opponents never know who you're going to send in, kind of throw them off. If they do counter a team, you can always just throw them off. Alright, this is a name I'm not familiar with. Benjura Tasha. It's easy enough to spell. So this is the last player for DK and friends, and then DK Team Pizza is sending in Kipkensky for a 2nd time. So we've already seen Kipkensky's team. It looks like Benjura's running a Digi-Aggro team of sorts. So that also kind of put some pressure on stuff like Shellant and Moments. No Freezeit or 4th pizza player. Well, maybe they could only split the pizza between three of them today. I know if this is the right player, right? Just kind of waiting on a. They're in match. Okay. Alright, possibly the last match of this round. There will be another match in about 45 minutes. Don't know how my pizza place splits pizza. You always split them into 6, so 3 makes sense. I usually get like a family-sized pizza and they split it into 8. There's also some places that have like square pizzas and it's like 12 or 16 or something. Alright. Yeah, the pretty standard Digi-Aggro team, but actually without Chromion. I think that's an interesting choice. Opting for the Reignit instead. I guess Nesla. Kivkensky, we actually see the Gazuma band out. Probably just banning out an electric. I'm a little surprised we didn't see the Inky band instead. I suppose Vendra just had either Reignit or Volfi around to deal with it, and so they were not scared. We do see the Inky plus the Shawland. No surprises. Gazuma more than likely doesn't have any way to outspeed the Volfi Sludge Gift, so Inky is very safe for this first turn. And it would have to eat a Soul Shout from Shalant if it gets picked. So we're just going to see Munko picked up instead. Probably swapped out turn 1, but Volfi gets banned here, almost certainly. Nesla is an okay swap in for turn 2, but an Aquatic Whirlwind does not kill Inky. So essentially, Vendra has to sacrifice 2 Tems in order to kill Inky, and that is what makes this lead so strong. The Shalant Inky. The pizza and the Inky. Maybe we see the Volfi not banned and the Nesla banned instead, but I feel like that gives Vendra a little too much space to work with. But maybe Kivkensky has a bigger plan. We do see the Nesla banned out. I guess that creates more space for Tolkien to work with. But there is still the Gazuma and the Zalbian to worry about as far as like electric moves. So we'll see. We'll see. There's still double Earth left. Vendra really wants to ban both of them, but they have to choose just one of the two. And they banned the Platymus instead. That's also fair. Digis are weak to waters. But I think that if you can get the Zalbian on a field, maybe it's like a full squish Zalbian with 0 bulk. Can't survive an aquatic or an aqua bullet even. Who knows? See the Volfi picked up. That makes sense. It's going to be a good swap in turn 1 for Munko. You know, now that I think about it, we might even just see the Munko sack to get a harmful off on the Shalant. That'd be the best play. I don't think so. Munko's really nice to have for Turok, but Munko isn't able to apply enough pressure to moments that I think it'll get a lot of value. I'm also curious if this is a physical mimic or a special mimic, possibly just an HP speed mimic. Because normally, like, the thing you want to mimic most on this team is Zalbian. But that's also your only physical Tem outside of Reignit, which hardly counts in my opinion. So if you choose to have a physical mimic, the only time you're going to want to pick it is with Zalbian. And so Zalbian wasn't picked up, so if it was physical, it's not getting a lot of value. Alright. Gazuma has marbles. Just getting some chip damage on both the Tems here. Fast charge proccing. 8 Inky, each Tem should have Sludge Gift and Stone Ball. Yeah, I remember our match yesterday. That was a bit rough for you. Playing a stall team with such high damage like Inky is just really difficult. I'm not even sure if it's possible to beat reasonably. So yeah, I'm curious if we're going to see the Monkos sack. I honestly think that's going to be the best play. I think you have to get Volfi on the field and mimic the Volfi. And if Shellant goes down, I think that's actually a winning play. And Shellant, the screen is rotating, so I don't think this is the best play. But we'll have to see how it goes. Well, if he takes the 2-strike, it doesn't mind that at all. Actually still takes 15%. Pretty nuts. Inky OP. But the Soul Shout, if that's a squishy Volfi, it goes down. Okay, it does not quite go down. It actually goes down to another T-Strike, but Volfi is not, or Inky is not staying in. And based on how much damage it took from T-Strike, we know that DC Beam will not kill it from this health. If the Shellant is running Martial Strike, though, it can kill it. Is once Volfi goes down, what kills the Inky? Yeah, I guess Hedgen has to, or the Mimit has to somehow outspeed the Inky. Is that a really goofy idea? What if like Mimits were running Fat Burner with max speed to outspeed their mirror counters without having to rely on the speed arrow? That would be awful. Alright, so like Monko is alive and it's going to be really good against Turok and Volfi, but I just don't think it applies enough pressure to Moments to see use. See an attack on the Shellant here. If the Plague plus T-Strike kill... Oh, it's Quartz Dirt. I think that's so bad. Because Mimit just dies now to the Soul Shout. But no! The Shellant goes for the Volfi, wanting to make sure that it goes down, so that it can't swap out into the Inky later. Could see Hedgen come in here. See Kazuma instead. It was very interesting plays. I think like Hedgen could survive the whatever Moments has for it and get the hold off on Hellfire to threaten out Inky later. It would also be able to hit to finish off Shellant before it takes any damage, and Mimic Inky could get the T-Strike off on the Moments, which deals solid damage. His problem then is that Volfi comes in. The only thing you really have, or Benjura really has against Volfi now is Monko, but Monko's threatened out by both Inky and Moments. Like Monko can kill Inky, only taking a DC beam, but a DC beam is like over half of Monko's health. So like a Plague plus DC beam probably gets really close to killing. I don't think this is the right play. You could T-Strike the Shellant, but you're not preventing the Volfi from coming in. Psysox, hello, welcome. Coming in right towards the end of this series. Unless Benjura pulls out an insane comeback. But don't worry, we have some more coming up in about 40 minutes. Venom all good? Venom was in chat a bit ago, maybe he's still around. Alright, so Kazuma can Tornado the Volfi, and Mimit's not immediately scared of the... Well, I mean, Mimit's trapped, it has to swap now. The Resin Trap was a really good play. Basically has to hope it's a very slow Volfi and can Bright Beam and be faster and survive the Sludge Gift that way. But I think that's kind of difficult to ask for. Seems like a faster Volfi can probably get the Sludge Gift off before the Inky is able to move. Take some time off the game, didn't enjoy the last update a lot. That's very fair. That is very fair. I have high hopes for 1.5, but the higher the hopes I have, the more disappointed I'll be if it's unfortunately a bad update. Really, a DC beam on the moments. Okay. So I guess the goal is just to kill moments and then have Monko sweep the rest of the game. Like I said, I don't think Monko has the health to work with to manage that. And Moments just swaps out now. You kind of have to predict a swap on the Moments, get a Sparks Soul Shout on the Volphy, and hope that you kill. Play stall makes fun, trust. I'm playing opposite of stall, and I've been enjoying it. Hyper aggro. Stall is something I'll probably eventually try at some point. Like something other than Doomstall. But I haven't seen something it's really drawn me to the playstyle. I really like new Taifu. I think a raid boss stall with Taifu as the center of it would be really cool, but I think the meta's too fast paced for it to work right now. Okay. So Bendra has to Sparks the Monko, one-shot the Volphy, and predict a swap on, or predict that Moment swaps out. It's really the only way I see a comeback here. Like, you can obviously kill the Moment if it stays in. So that's why I'm assuming it swaps, to heal so it can live a hit and come back in later. And if you get rid of the Volphy, your Hedgen is more free to come in and wreak havoc. Or at least chip damage enough that the Monko can finish stuff off. Like Kivkensky's really considering the options here. It's kind of a 50-50. We do see the Moment swap. See the Inky swap in. Very, very risky. If that Soul Shot went into the Inky... Well, it wasn't even a Soul Shot, it was a... It was a Microwaves. So unfortunately Bendra kind of lost the 50-50 there. Kipkensky for DK. Kipkensky's on Team Pizza. Both of them are actually have like DK teams. It's DK Team Pizza and DK and Friends. So I just have Pizza versus Friends. Hopefully the Friends don't eat all the pizza. I think the pizza's winning today. I really actually would have thought. You just look at the names alone, like if you have a whole bunch of friends versus a pizza, you'd think your friends can eat the whole pizza. Must be a really big pizza today. So Monko can actually outspeed Inky and get a Sludge Gift off, but if Inky swaps out, or a hard Microwaves off. But Volphy is still rare and ready for a fight, so kind of had to see that Tornado into the Inky and a Soul Shot into Volphy. I think, again, instead of using Hurricane, we needed a Sparks on the Monko. Because it doesn't quite have enough damage to one-shot either Turok, Volphy, or even Moments from this health. But if it had some Sparks up, it would help. And the Hurricane didn't really do anything. I don't think Gazuma needed the speed boost. Yeah, I mean, if Monko could somehow one-shot the Moments with the health it has left, well, we'd see the Soul Shot. It's been a very interesting game. I think I would have made like every single opposite play. but that's how. But Bendra is the one playing. I think that's going to be game. Hedgen just kind of dies to a Stone Ball. It could survive one extra turn if it has Generify. Get a Hellfire off. And that could deal some damage to Moments, but it's not going to be enough to kill it. Moments has very high special defense, good HP. And Hedgen has no possible way to deal with Turok. Just get some microwaves off. Does like 45%. It's a speedy gravel bag Turok. Hedgen does go down, and that's going to be game. So GG's. Team Pizza comes in with a clean 4-0 sweep. They did switch up their players some, so multiple of their members did get a chance to play. And that's going to be all for this series. We have, I think the next match starts in like 30 minutes. It's really tempting to just keep streaming. But I think I'm just going to break it up, take a short break, and come back in like half an hour, because I don't think anyone else has really volunteered to stream. So I think I'll grab the next match as well. At least partially, so that there's some sort of cast recording of it. Because we have a whole bunch of matches starting around the same time. Lore Weaver, if possible, you probably grab the one starting an hour and a half from now to get that full one, or you can just wait and stream mine, obviously. I don't know. I don't think we don't have enough casters for everyone to be cast, and then refs are also partially an issue, so. Alright, but yes, that'll be all. I hope you guys enjoyed. GG's to DK's Team Pizza, and as well as DK and friends. You can always check out the Discord, the League Discord, for standings. I don't have a great way to show it on here. As I said, you can ask just about anyone for an invite, and they can probably send you one. Gotta go. See ya. Thanks for stopping by. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.